Okay, basically chapter 16 is just taking all of the math concepts we've just talked about in chapters 8 through 15 and putting them into a scientific perspective. They're going there and talking about one-to-one correspondence, classifying, number sense counting, but doing it in a way that's talking about animals. One way you can talk about is talking about animals with whether they're mammals or reptiles, amphibians, invertebrates, vertebrates. Talking about the differences between animals who live in the water, animals who live on land, animals that fly in the sky. The differences between birds and dogs and cats and horses, animals that live in zoos compared to animals who live in the wild, animals we have in our backyards compared to animals that live around the world. The differences and similarities between all these different types of animals is a really good way of teaching or starting to teach science concepts to kids. In your chapter it goes through and talks about a lot of different ways to include science with kids, a lot of music and movement activities. You can also do a lot of positional words on bulletin boards, felt word stories, moving different characters around the felt word stories, talking about ordinal positions. When we talk about ordinal numbers, first, second, third, fourth, positions of those. In your book it shows a page, on page, on this page right here, it shows these apple trees. How many apples are on the apple tree, and the kids circled the number that's on the tree, so counting and then being able to do this. Now, this is not something that a young 3-year-old is going to be able to do. You're going to have some 5s who can do this, but this would be not a worksheet activity because we don't do worksheets with children in preschool. This would be you could do this with a felt board story, or you could do this with a file filter game, something where they could actually move the numbers around, have the numbers on the trees, and then have them match the number with the tree that's on another little piece of paper, something like that, that's laminated that you can use over and over and over. The same thing with this octopus right here. You have the dots on the octopus's tentacle, and then you have the different die down here that have the numbers on them. Now they're going to have to be able to count to do these different activities. They just can't do it, but you're including nature and animals. 8 tentacles. You have these trees, how many apples are on the trees. In this activity right here, you can position the fish above the box, beside the box, in front of the box, under the box. This would be the same thing, doing file folder games and things like that, but bringing nature into it, animals. But this whole chapter is full of everything we've just talked about over the last several chapters, just in a science-related activities. Okay, moving on to section 3, chapter 17. This is talking about ordering, seriation, and patterning. Ordering is putting things in order. Now, ordinal numbers talk about where they are: first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Ordering can be beginning, middle, and end, as well as talking about ordinal numbers or positions. This is also seriation, a sequence, and this is what Piaget was the one that came up with the word seriation. Seriation means ordering also. It's just a different word for ordering. So when you hear seriation, that means ordering. Now there's another word that's with this that connected to these two, and that's called patterning. Kids will have to be able to do ordering first, understanding what comes first, second, third, or beginning, middle, and end before they can pattern. Most children will do very simple patterns. Red, blue, which is what we call an A-B pattern. And then they move on to more complicated patterns that may be an ABC pattern. Red, blue, orange, and then you may move on to another like ABBA. Red, blue, red, blue, red. In a pattern. Now the best thing you can do with the kids, and we talked about this in class the other night, you cannot make a child learn something if they're not ready for it. If their mind is not ready, they cannot do this. And so if you sit down with a child, say they're playing with some blocks and they're colored blocks, and maybe you start making a pattern yourself, red, blue, and you may say, hey, can you make a pattern with me? If they cannot or they don't understand, then it's not the time to do that. Then move on to something else. Don't go, oh, I see how you're building with your blocks, and just talk about what they're doing. Then at a later time, maybe a few days later, a week later, start working with them and seeing if they're interested in that, seeing if they're picking that up yet. Children pick it up at different times. It also talks about in your book, it shows right here is out of order and in order, out of order and in order, okay? Patterns matched in order, patterns matched in order down here, and then down here at the bottom it's seriation. You have rods that are all mixed up, and then they put them all in order from the smallest to the largest. That's the difference between the two, but it's basically ordering and seriation are the same thing. Another example of ordering is this is out of order, this is in order, okay? Down here we have the words, 1 first, 2 second. Now this is not something we're going to be working with the younger children with. As the children get older, if you go on to working with kindergartners and first graders, this is when you're going to start working using, we're going to be using these words in the classroom, but we're not going to be, okay, can you tell me the word for first? Can you tell me the word 1? We're not going to be asking that. We're just going to be using the language with the kids in our classrooms, and they'll pick up on it because they're being immersed in this, in the words. And in this, they also give you several different children's books that are great to use, talking about ordering and patterning within this chapter. Moving on, let's end this video, and the next video will be over chapters 18 and 19.